In this module, we're going to discuss buy-sell agreements. Other than this brief introduction, you will note I am not going to discuss insurance, or even use that word throughout this entire module. There's a very important reason I'm pointing this out, which is to hammer home the fact that a buy-sell agreement is not a form of insurance. It's an agreement. In other words, a contract, usually between business owners. In the next module, we'll discuss how buy-sell agreements, which are legal contracts, and certain insurance policies, such as life and disability insurance, can work together. But for now, we will focus on the buy-sell agreements themselves. Consider the following story. There's a well-known 70s sitcom called All in the Family. If you haven't heard about it, perhaps your parents or grandparents have. I know I'm aging myself here. In the show, Archie Bunker, a somewhat crusty but still lovable middle-aged man, has a daughter named Gloria. Gloria was married to Michael, who Archie wasn't fond of. In fact, Archie always referred to him as Meathead. Now let's assume that Gloria and Archie went into the cigar business together, 50-50. Archie really knows cigars and Gloria has a good business head on her shoulders. The business quickly became profitable. One day, Archie and Gloria were celebrating over lunch, and they had the following discussion. Gloria, if something happened to you, who would you leave your share of the business to? Expecting it to be himself, of course. Well, I'd leave it to Michael, my husband. You mean Meathead? I can't be in business with Meathead. You know I can't stand the guy, and he's no you, Gloria. He doesn't have your smarts or skills. Well, I would want to take care of him financially, and the business is the only thing I own. I put my entire life savings into this. As you can see, the death or disability of an owner in a business could be a problem for the remaining and even new shareholders. From Gloria's perspective, if something happened to her, she would like her husband Michael to benefit from the business. From Archie's perspective, he isn't fond of Michael, and he doesn't think he has the skills required to be a productive business partner. Archie and Gloria then spoke to their respective lawyers and entered into a buy-sell agreement, which would be triggered upon either of their deaths. For example, Gloria's half of the business was valued at $500,000. If Gloria passes away, the agreement provided for the following. Archie would pay Gloria's estate $500,000. Archie would then own the entire business and would not have to work with Michael or share profits with him. Gloria's estate would receive $500,000, which she could then leave to Michael as per her will. When Archie and Gloria met with their lawyer to discuss and draft the buy-sell agreement that would be triggered upon death, they were asked an interesting question. Have you thought about what would happen if one of you became disabled and could no longer contribute to the business? Archie blurted out, I own half the business, so I would still expect to get paid. And Gloria responded, but Daddy, the business couldn't afford to pay you and someone else to do your job. Archie's silence indicated he agreed. Their lawyer recommended that they also draft a buy-sell agreement that would be triggered upon disability. With this agreement, upon buyout, the healthy partner will own the entire business and would be free to take on a new partner of their choosing. And the disabled partner would be compensated for their share of the business. Take note that the agreement would need to define what would constitute disabled and how long the disability would need to last before the buyout is triggered. The definition of disability is generally tied to the person's own occupation. For example, from a business perspective, Gloria needs Archie to be able to work at their company, carrying out the main functions of his role with the business. Him being able to work elsewhere doesn't help their business. The length of disability should also be quite long, typically 1 to 2 years. To exaggerate, Archie wouldn't want to come back to work after a 2-week back spasm to learn that Gloria bought out his share of the business. When it comes to the buy-sell agreement itself, there is no hard and fast rule on what it should say. Businesses and business relationships can vary. Therefore, capturing each party's needs and wants in an agreement can sometimes result in a very unique contract. They can also be complex, so the advice of the following professionals is typically required. An accountant or appraiser to help determine the value of the business, and a lawyer to draw up the contract. Although buy-sell agreements will vary greatly from company to company, the following is typical. In addition to what triggers the buyout, a well-written agreement will usually provide for 1. A guaranteed buyer, 2. A guaranteed price or formula to determine the price, and 3. Guaranteed funding. Let's discuss each of these. Let's start with number 1, a guaranteed buyer. If either party could arbitrarily change their mind about buying the other party's share, the agreement loses much of its value. Instead, the agreement will usually state that both the buyer and seller are obligated to follow through with the transaction once triggered. Number 2, a previously agreed upon price or formula. If a price or formula is not agreed to in advance, a shrewd business owner could try to take advantage of the situation and offer a lowball price. Therefore, a well-drafted agreement will either include a previously agreed upon price, a previously agreed upon formula, or an agreement to use an independent third-party evaluator that would value the business to determine the buyout price. Now, it should be noted that the previously agreed upon price method is not ideal because the value of the business will likely change with time, requiring the agreement to constantly be updated. Therefore, the best approach is to either agree to a previously agreed upon formula, for example, 3 times the last year's sales, or to use an independent third-party evaluator. These methods are advantageous because the buyout price will fluctuate up or down with the value of the business. And finally, number 3, guaranteed funding. There needs to be some assurance that once the buyout is triggered, the purchaser has the required funds. Now, if Archie and Gloria were independently wealthy and $500,000 is chump change, then no problem. But if not, funding could be an issue. I bet you can guess what the next module is all about.